Not only are they trying to disgustingly get Native American tribes to house the kidnapped immigrants, recently they almost deported a Native American. I reported on this about a week or so ago. They almost deported a Native American citizen out of Salt River Pima citizen, who only through the organizing and just refusal by her family to let it happen was she staved off from being deported. Quote, "We can't have this happen again." One day before she was set to be released from an Iowa. You want to see what real independent journalism funded by the people for the people looks like?
You ever heard a story like this in America?
You're looking at it.
Congratulations for always being somewhere where mainstream media is not.
Flint, Michigan.
See you in Nevada.
Thanks to people like you, we can get the truth. Corporate media, they've been lying to us for years, and you're going straight to the people.
You are the man. I'm glad you're here.
For as low as 16 cents a day, you'll keep us on the ground, covering the important stories the corporate media covers up. Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Just in time for Thanksgiving, which we should not forget is actually a day of mourning, which should be commemorating America's mass genocide, murder, raping, and kidnapping of millions of Native Americans. Trump's ICE terror campaign is now trying to dump the immigrants we've illegally imprisoned onto Native reservations. Yes, kidnap immigrants, dump them on Native reservations. This is not a dream. It is a nightmare. First, before we get to the actual part about Native Americans, I want to give you the setup because Fox News had ICE's chief thug, Tom Homan, on yesterday, and they are not happy. They don't think they've detained enough. They don't think they've kidnapped enough immigrants. Listen to what the ICE chief says.
In a week from the beginning of the administration, and even if you keep going at the pace you're going at, that's a dent in the illegal alien population. People would deport, who are deportable aliens right now. So what do you say to those people who say, this is great, but it's nowhere near enough?
Then come put a badge and gun on and give us a hand. ICE is hiring record numbers. Bottom line is, I just said just about 650,000 deportations. That is several hundred thousand more than the record that was back in 2012. So it was already a historic operation. Second of all, you got to consider the people who have left the country out of fear of being deported. There's over 1.6 million of them. So there's well over 2.2 million left the country already. And that's been the part of the plan from the beginning. We knew if we send over 1,000 ICE teams out there across the country, we send a message to the whole world. You enter this country illegally, we're looking for you. And by sending that message, by having anything, ICE is one of the reasons we have the most secure border in the history of the nation right now, because people aren't coming because they know there's consequences. So between the record number of deportations, the record number of self-deports, we're already having a historic deportation operation. But hold on tight, we're hiring 10,000 more. That's going to be on duty by mid-January. That's tripling the size of enforcement removal operations. So if you think the numbers are historic now, wait till next year.
Well, that's music to my ears.
Music to my ears. Notice Fox News and, of course, the ICE thug, the Border Patrol thug, Greg Bavino, they never got so animated about the other crimes in America. The ones that aren't misdemeanors, but actually felonies, like the Wall Street bankers tanking our global economy, foreclosing on millions of Americans and sending them to the streets through illegal fraud. Those crimes don't matter. Apparently don't matter to MAGA. The fossil fuel CEOs that poison our water, our land, our air, our animals, the big pharma executives who poison and kill hundreds of thousands of Americans with Oxycontin. I could go on. But Tom Homan and ICE, because of their big ambitions to triple the size of ICE, in his words, 10,000 more are going to be hired. Hold on tight. We're going to triple the size, historic deportations. Apparently, they don't have enough space for the people they kidnap. So they are enlisting or trying to enlist Native American tribes. The people that we stole their land, murdered, raped, kidnapped, sent off to their own open air prisons called reservations. They're now trying to dump ICE immigrants onto native reservations. You can't even make this up. ICE looks to Washington state tribes to house detained immigrants. As the Trump administration searches for more space to detain immigrants, it is approaching Washington tribes to see if they'll participate. The Nisqually Tribal Council said in a statement Friday evening it learned that ICE had been talking to one of its staff members without consulting the council. By the way, this wasn't this past Friday. This is, I believe, about a week and a half ago. The council said it also discovered ICE has been reaching out to other tribal governments and cities in Washington in an attempt to secure detention space. For its part, the Nisqually Indian tribe, whose reservation lies east of Olympia and which has a 288-bed correctional facility built in part with federal funds, is telling ICE no, according to the council. Quote, the Nisqually people are not in favor of, nor will the tribal council allow, the detention of individuals by ICE on our reservation or in our facilities, said Tribal Chair E.K. Choke in the statement. Reached by phone, Choke said he was unaware of discussions between Nisqually and ICE until the tribe was contacted by the Seattle Times, which had received information about talks. Quote, I'm actually just investigating the claims myself. The Trump administration has said it wants to dramatically increase detention capacity as it tries to carry out its mass deportation. Congress has allocated billions of dollars for that purpose. The administration is planning to expand detention at military sites across the country, New York Times reports, also considering sites along the Oregon coast, including the town of Newport. Well, as part of that effort to triple the size of ICE, not only are they trying to, I would say, exploit, coerce, even possibly entrap. Do we think it's beyond the Trump administration to dangle or as some type of ultimatum? Hey, you give us space in your prisons to the Native American tribes, your correctional facilities. If not, I'd hate to see your federally funded, your federally approved by law funds. Hate to see them stuck. You don't think that's beyond the realm of possibility of them doing a little bait and switch? Not only are they trying to disgustingly get Native American tribes to house the kidnapped immigrants, recently they almost deported a Native American. I reported on this about a week or so ago. They almost deported a Native American citizen out of Salt River Pima citizen, who only through the organizing and just refusal by her family to let it happen was she staved off from being deported. Quote, we can't have this happen again. One day before she was set to be released from an Iowa jail, Leticia Jacobo's family discovered she'd been slated for deportation. When Leticia Jacobo was booked into the Polk County Jail in Des Moines, Iowa for a traffic violation for which she spent a month, which is a whole nother disgrace, the 24-year-old Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community citizen didn't know she'd later be slated for deportation and flagged as a suspected undocumented immigrant. Quote, I was unaware of what was going on, she said. It wasn't until I gave my mom a call and she told me, you probably won't be getting out because you have an ICE hold. While attempting to organize Jacobo's discharge on November 11th, Jacobo's mother, Erica Burns, discovered her daughter would no longer be eligible for release. Instead, the Native woman was now on an immigration hold, set to be taken into Immigration and Customs Enforcement custody and eventually deported to an undisclosed location. She never interacted with any ICE agents, and Polk County corrections officers began informing her of the next steps of what was supposed to be her last day in jail. I was informed that ICE was on their way and I was going to have to sit tight and wait for somebody. Family would discover that a week before she was set to be released, the Polk County Sheriff's Department flagged Jacobo as a suspected undocumented immigrant in Polk County Jail in what the department called a clerical error. Quote, I haven't gotten any type of an apology or anything, Jacobo said. It's like they're brushing it off. It's one hell of a clerical error. And this comes, by the way, earlier in the year I reported, there were at least a dozen around the country, Native Americans who had been detained by ICE wrongly for hours and hours, not given access to their phone, couldn't call family, a lawyer. Apparently, ICE just has trouble distinguishing between people that are not just pale white. This is beyond vile. And as, I don't want to say as the walls close in, because the walls have been supposedly closing in on Trump for a long time. But as other scandals continue to erupt, as hopefully more information comes out on Trump's involvement or awareness of the Epstein illegal, horrific child sex trafficking ring, we know the president's MO is to toss out shiny new distractions to, distract the sheep in the media, to have them go elsewhere. Do we not think that he's not going to unleash double down, triple down, quadruple down on even more ICE terror, Border Patrol terror, possibly invoke the Insurrection Act? And do we not think that more Native Americans might be snagged up in this, including U.S. citizens, which, to be clear, Native Americans are more American than you and I. It's just absolutely disgusting. And all this, it reminds me of a conversation I had recently with Trina Lonehill. She is a member of the Oglala Sioux tribe in South Dakota. She's fighting against the D. Roy Burdock uranium mine project, which is threatening South Dakota's Native American lands, reservations, water, land, sacred burial grounds. So we were speaking about that because it hasn't gotten a lot of attention. It's like the Dakota Access Pipeline and other energy independent projects, which none of them are giving us energy independence. This uranium mine is going to double down on the cancer other mines have already unleashed on Native Americans. But I spoke to her because Kristi Noem, who's the head of the Department of Homeland Security, used to be the governor of South Dakota. And Native American tribes had a horrible, horrible nightmare experience with her. Let's see about that.
I mean, even the state of South Dakota, prior to Trump coming in, our governor at the time, she erased tribal history. They had an Ocetishak-only standards. It was a history that included our Native and our tribal history in their state public schools. They eliminated that.
And that was Kristi Noem, who's now head of Department of Homeland Security.
Yes. And so during the COVID, the whole pandemic, all of the tribes banned her from our reservation borders. I am not surprised by what she is doing and what, the rhetoric that she spews. It's just, it's infuriating. And everyone gets to see what we had to deal with as tribal nations in South Dakota under her term or her tenure there as governor.
I kind of think about what so many, frankly, white Americans are feeling right now. They're seeing this kind of invasion of the federal government, a president saying he might invoke the Insurrection Act, saying I could do whatever I want. I'm going to dispatch the federal government to fight the enemy within. And part of me wonders, do indigenous people look at this as kind of like, we've been dealing with this white imperialism and kind of fascism for hundreds of years?
We've actually been dealing with it since 1492. We always like to say this, we were a people, we were a nation prior to the statehood of South Dakota. We, our borders, before they were even a state, we were a nation. We had our territories, and we've been fighting since day one to keep our territories. And it's not just here in South Dakota. Like, our territories are Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, Colorado, all in the area. And it's just, it gets a little tiring, but then we got to keep fighting for these treaty rights. We have to keep these going. We have to keep our kids, in the know with these treaties, and know what is being violated, and making sure that for the next 100 years, they'll all be fighting this too.
It's just a shame to me. There's a lot of shames going on. It's just a shame to me that there's not more attention in mainstream media or even independent media on Native news, particularly the fact that these people are our poorest citizens because of the conditions we have subjected them to. These people obviously deserve reparations. Shout out to Marianne Williamson, who is the only progressive candidate to call for that. But it's just vile and disgusting that this fascist Trump ICE machine would now try to kidnap immigrants illegally with no due process and dump them on the land of the people that we kidnapped, the people that we murdered, the people that we genocided. So as you're celebrating Thanksgiving, remember, we should be thankful that the Native Americans are such a forgiving, kind people.